Hi everyone, this is Striker and welcome to episode number 13 of my Redout Advanced Strategy Guide series. Throughout each of my previous videos, many of you have noticed the way that I am able to specifically edit out segments from my time trial videos, run them through an analysis tool, and analyze each segment of each lap, frame by frame, in isolation and in comparison with other laps that I have run in the past. In this video, I want to specifically detail that workflow, make suggestions for which programs you can use to extract your own video files, and ultimately help you to draw conclusions that will make you a better pilot. Before we get into that though, I want to take you on a scenic view of the Sequoia National Forest. Enjoy.
3, 2, 1, go!
Okay, so now that you have seen the incredible Sequoia Serpent run, I'm going to bring you back into some of the programs that I utilize on a regular basis when determining the strategies for my world records. So the first order of business is going to be figuring out how we can record your footage from Redout. And I have 3 suggestions to make. If you are using a Windows 10 or ostensibly a Windows 11 computer, you should be able to use the Windows game bar to extract high quality footage from your game. So if you go into the Windows settings menu here, you'll be clicking on gaming and you'll see a section for game bar. If we activate that, you will ultimately reach a screen that looks like this. So once we are here in the game bar, you will see a section here on the top called Capture. And if we go into the settings, you will be able to change the way you are able to extract in terms of frame rate and quality profiles. Ultimately, once you record, this can be toggled from a specific keyboard shortcut while you are playing, and you're able to extract your footage. Just keep in mind that the game bar, in my experience, only takes the video from the current program that is open at the time of recording. So if you start recording on your desktop and you switch to Redout, you might not be capturing that footage. The second recommendation I can make to you is a program called OBS. So that is Open Broadcasting Software. Now OBS is a software that is free, it's open source, and it allows you to capture multiple screens at one time if that's what you desire, audio, and even if you have microphone inputs and separate video HDMI inputs with an external dock, you can record from there. The problem when it comes to lower end PCs is that OBS definitely has a performance penalty, and this is something I noticed in my prior laptop. So my number 1 recommendation would be Nvidia Shadowplay through the GeForce Experience app. This is, of course, predicated on having a Nvidia GPU. But if you do so, you will have a menu where you can then find a section on the top here in the GeForce Experience overlay, a section for recording. So once you go into the settings menu for the GeForce Experience app, you will be able to pull up specific recording settings of where you want to save your files to, and we can also change the actual quality mode of the broadcast. Unfortunately, as I'm recording right now, I cannot change those values, but you could adjust resolution and frame rate. Something to keep in mind if you are looking to do comparison footage, especially in an editor like Adobe Premiere, is that you need to synchronize the video's output frame rate before inputting it into your video editor. So that is something you definitely want to keep account of. This program is amazing since it is very low on system resources, and provided you have a Nvidia GPU, utilizes the actual hardware to create your video output. It does, however, take up a lot of storage, so make sure you have a large hard drive that it is saving to. Once we have the video captured, the best software that I have found to specifically extract your video files and cut them without having to run them through a full-scale video editor is a program called Lossless Cut. What Lossless Cut allows me to do is chop a potential 99 lap time trial video into a 1-minute segment from my best lap instantly, without running it through a video processor, without taking hours to render. You can almost immediately create these great lossless versions of these longer videos. And that's how I chop all these long videos into digestible segments that I can watch at my leisure or use in an editor when it comes to analysis. So if we go on the Lossless Cut website, you'll see some of the instructions here, use cases, but what you want to do is scroll down and find either one of these 3 buttons relative to your computer, or if you want to install the specific exe version or zip file, you can do that through Windows, or if you have a Mac OS or Linux, you can work it that way. Just keep in mind, if you get it from one of these stores, this is a paid purchase, but if you get it through the exe file, it is completely free. Now, once you have the Lossless Cut program open, you will see a menu like this. And what I'm going to have you do first is hit open, navigate to the section where you have your specific videos. Let's just click any specific video here. Let's say Boss Fight Tournament. So that was my episode number 11. So now we have this really long video file. So you can see right here, it's telling us where we are in the specific video. So if I click here, now we're at 40 minutes in the video, 53 minutes. So let's say I want to chop the beginning of this race. Let's say starting right here. What we do is you select this button, set cut start to current position. Automatically, we've just cut everything that happened before. And if we move a little bit forwards, let's catch the end of this lap. Right about there. Okay, perfect. So now what we do is we navigate to the end pane, set cut end to current position, and now we have a nice slice of Moon Boss. If you make a mistake on the cut point, you can also click elsewhere within and re-establish your start point or end point. If you want to switch back to the beginning of your cut point, you hit this button here. And if you want to go frame by frame to get a perfect cut at the start, you can use those buttons as well. The really cool thing about this program, let's say we want to also get some Europa Boss. So now we click here, Europa Boss, we hit another start point and another end point. So now we have 2 videos and we can select to merge these 2 files. So I believe you can either do it from here in this menu, or when you hit export, it will give you the option of potentially saving as 2 separate files or a merged file. That's a really good feature, and it allows me to, without any video editing, create these nice trim MP4 files with just the content that I want to see. Now, the last program that I will demonstrate today is a program called Kenobia, and this is one of my personal favorites. So Kenobia is a program that is designed for video analysis and, in a lot of ways, sport analysis. I'm not going to get into all those features, but think in terms of actually drawing angles and looking at speeds and frame-by-frame tools. That's the kind of software that this is going to provide you, you want to make sure you're downloading the current 0.9 version and not one of the older versions. So the original 0.8 versions had some problems with actual playback in the editor. If we download the newest version, you're going to have much smoother playback and a better overall experience. Now, when we open up the Kenobia app, you are going to first navigate to Open Video. And once again, just like Lossless Cut, you should see the video directory that you use to save your Redout files. And I'm going to pull specific videos, and here's my Hydra Thunder world record. So in the player itself, we have the play and pause. We can use this to observe checkpoints and draw conclusions from there. We can also go frame by frame forwards and frame by frame backwards, and I'll talk in a second why that's so important. And we can also see the actual timer where it says position here. Now, let me bring you to the very start of the lap and show you why that's so critical. Now, many of you already know the idea of Redout having some glitches with time trials. What better way to see the actual time that you've achieved relative to the timer in the game than to have a stopwatch right in the bottom corner? So what we're going to do here is use this button right here where it says set the first frame of the working zone to the current frame. If we do that, now we're starting our video at frame 1 with a position of 00 on the timer. From there, when we play our video, I'm going to play this a little bit forward, and I want you to watch how the separation occurs between the game timer and the timer here. 6.20 to 6.23. We are already drifting. Now watch if I cut later in the lap. We are at 52.377. In the actual stopwatch, we are at 52.59. Now I have found in looking at a large number of laps and comparing actual time versus in-game time that the timer glitches to a very specific amount relative to the length of the track that you are currently running. So that means that the objective glitch is the same, but some tracks could have a glitch of 0.205, and another track like Revolving that's very short could have a glitch of 0.090. And that's just because you're spending a longer time in the lap, and therefore the timer has had more time to glitch and to become separate from the stopwatch. From run to run, from player to player, and from PC to PC, the glitch is going to be the same in my experience. That's why you see so many times where the actual gold, silver, and bronze times are identical to the thousandths of a second. The other thing to keep in mind with the Redout timer is that the timer operates on a frame-by-frame basis. So, when you are at this point in the run, one frame past the last frame of the lap is a 0.0167 difference. Therefore, the timer is intrinsically tied to the frame that you cross the finish line at. I hope that answers some of the timer-related questions that I have been asked over the years when it comes to measuring the objectivity of time trials. Now, we can also, to this point, set an end working zone. So now we have a beginning and an end, and we can draw conclusions from there. Let's reset the zones for a second, and I'm going to pull in another Hydra Thunder lap to show you how this can be comparative and really allow you to establish the best approaches and strategies for the tracks. So now I have loaded up both of my Hydra Thunder runs. On the left here is my current world record, and on the right is a lap that I felt was really, really good, aside from one mistake at the end. And what Kenobia allows me to do is create an accurate comparison as to whether or not my world record was still ahead of my more recent pace. You would not know this with the checkpoint system because these occurred in 2 different 99-lap sessions. So what's important to do first is, on the left video, find the start of the lap. So freeze frame until you get to here, 0, 0. Now we set the working zone as the start of the lap. Now this lap is going to be on 30, so we're going to scan through it. And here we go on lap 30 right here. Make sure it's 0, 0. Now from here we set the start zone. Now here's the coolest feature. Right there on the bottom left, this red button here synchronizes the 2 videos. So now we have a very precise frame by frame differentiation between our 2 laps. Now if we go, let's say right here, watch how I can determine which lap reached that boost pad first. This one is just very slightly ahead of my new current run. See that? But they're pretty much identical. Now let's go a little bit later into the lap. And let's look at here. So on our timer here, we are 0.016 behind. And in this lap, we are 0.016 ahead. Now, as we leave the actual track, let's look at the separation. So we can observe that my newer run of Hydra Thunder is, if we look at the actual barrier of the track, 2 frames ahead. So right there, that's a 0.033 difference. Doesn't sound like much, but in high-level time trialing, that can make a big difference. Now, if we jump just a hair forwards to here, let's look at where we cross the checkpoint. And let's see how that difference plays out as we go a little bit further. So watch this. So I am already through the barrier here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now I'm 6 frames behind my newer run of Hydra Thunder. So 6 frames, 0.0167 milliseconds. Well, that's looking at nearly a full 1/10 of a second difference between these 2 runs. So you can say, well, that was my pace. I was just that far ahead of my newer lap. But is that entirely true? Well, let's look at when we boost here. So watch this. Look at the left, look at the right. Watch the timing of the boost. So what you saw there was that my boost on the left was a lot earlier. An earlier boost is going to preempt my gain of speed and possibly make up the difference that we saw before. So was it an execution change that led to that 6 frame difference at that previous checkpoint? Or was it simply an earlier boost pattern? Let's find out. So watch how we cross to this checkpoint here. As we cross through this one, notice how the world record lap on the left crossed earlier than this newer attempt on the right. If you are willing to put the time into Redout and into this editor, you can create some really interesting conclusions from this analysis. Now, as I drew out the rest of this lap off screen, what I determined was that my world record from here on out was actually ahead of my newer run. So I don't have to lose sleep at night when I realized the mistake I made by crashing into that wall. Just to cover a couple of more small features when it comes to analysis that might be helpful is, let's say they did lose synchronization. So let's say we get to a checkpoint right about here. This one looks like it's going to be quite a difference. Yeah, so right there. Let's say they are desynced. This world record is faster. We can clearly see that. What we're going to do now, let's make sure those timers are synchronized. See 40.391, 40.392. For all intents and purposes, we're at the same point in both laps. But let's do this. Let's bring this one ahead. So right about there looks about the same in terms of crossing the barrier. Let's resynchronize at this frame. And now let's see which one got to the wall bounce first. So we just wall bounced on the left and the right. That was about equal, if not the left one reaching it a frame sooner. So I hope this illustration shows the value of the analysis mode in Kenobia. So each of the other tools that I have showed you prior to this work in concert with Redout to allow this analysis and allow you to capture these video files. Once we have these video files, we can do some awesome things with the editor. And if you guys haven't seen my video with Davinsky yet, I utilize Kenobia to its fullest potential to compare not only 2 laps from the same player, but 2 different strategies for world record laps across players from 2 different continents. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope these videos help, and please reach out to me if you have any questions about the software or how I approach strategic analysis. Thank you.